the sum of its parts. I have a treat for you tonight. A flip chart and the business economics textbook. Yay. Are you ready? The reason I've chosen this tonight is to discuss something that's completely affecting all of us. But there's nobody in this room that isn't being affected by what I'm going to talk about, and that's the recession. The recession is going on and on and on. Earlier this year, I set up a company to deal specifically with trying to break the recession and to move us into an upward spiral. There's an economic term called a downward spiral. That's what we've been in for ages. It gets bad and bad and bad and worse. There's another thing called an upward spiral. It very rarely stays flat. Economies go down or economies go up. And we know that as the business cycle. Well, we had a big correction a few years ago. Big market correction, everything crashed and burned, and you knew it was a bubble before, but then when it corrected, damn, recession. But we've been in it for a while, but we don't seem to be going down. We just seem to be going like this. So I've been putting a lot of thought, and I mean sort of savage thinking, really just breaking my head on how we can stop this. So first let me tell you the business solution. That's not my topic for tonight, but it sets the foundation of what I want to talk about. A recession is very simply defined. It's 2 financial quarters of negative growth. It's very simple. It means there were, say, January, February, March, one financial quarter had negative growth in business, and the one following it was negative. If you were able to change that cycle and make the second one level or positive, then there's no recession. And you go, okay, it's simple, simple, simple. But it's true. I have a book here to prove it, right? So I've actually gone back to my old economics textbooks, which I really never thought I would ever open again, and read through, and yes, that's right. So if we could get a quarter of growth, then we don't have a recession. And it could trigger an upward spiral. And that's what my company's doing. We're trying to align business growth into one financial quarter to just give it a kick. And when I go presenting this, when I go talking to companies and banks and financiers about creating an upward spiral, they say, but don't forget the consumer effect. Consumer effect? Now you know where you come in, where I come in. Because we're all consumers in the Dutch market. And the consumers, well, what are you doing right now? You're probably doing like me. You're probably spending less. Who's spending less than they used to?
Spending on what?
Spending. Chocolate bars, telephones, cars, motorcycles, petrol. Who's spending less? Okay, no. You see that? It can't be a terrible recession if only 5 people out of this whole room are spending less. As a country, consumer spending is flat. I think that's reflected here, right? Some up, some down. They're going to spend less. However, in the Netherlands, people are saving more. Now, this goes really nicely with the Dutch character, isn't it? Saving, frugal, cut back, be rational, be rational. And because we're in a recession, move the large consumer spending items to next year. A lot of people have told me, well, I'm not buying a car this year, I'll buy it next year. We're having a recession. Right? My clients, they buy companies, no one will sell their companies. I'll sell it next year, there's a recession. So what's happened is that we've started to create a downward spiral. Has anyone heard of the paradox of thrift? Sometimes called the paradox of savings? No? I'll write it down. paradox is something that you don't expect to happen. Thrift and savings are all the things that you're hearing in the press. Thrift and savings means you're putting the money in the bank. Quick guess, does anyone know what the extra savings was in the Netherlands last year? The increase in bank accounts?
6 billion.
6 billion. 6 billion. 6 billion euros. Really shitty recession going on here. People put 6 billion euros in their savings accounts. Now, come on. But does it matter? Is everyone being really good and safe? Let me read what happens in the paradox of thrift. This isn't a new theory, I'm going to tell you. It's first recognized in 1711. In fact, they can go back to the Greeks and they can see some indication of this. And there's actually some quotes in the Bible that if you were to sort of stretch them, you come up with the same theory. If everyone tries to save more money during times of economic recession, then the aggregate demand will fall because of a decrease in consumption, creating a decrease in demand. Economic terms. But what that means is very simply, if I put €1 in my bank account because I'm being safe and looking after my family, that's €1 that doesn't go in the economy. So consumer spending is one of the things that drives growth. Because if consumers don't spend, companies don't sell. If companies don't sell, they lay off their staff. And if companies lay off their staff, they close their businesses. Then guess what you have? Oh, you have a recession, right? You see this happens? If you're saving €1, it doesn't matter. And if you're saving €1, it doesn't matter. And if you're saving €1, it doesn't matter. But if we're saving 6 billion euros in an economy that's flat, you tip the economy down. It's just flat out, boring economics. So €1 in the bank account equals minus €1 in the economy. And that's no good. That's no good now. In a boom time, it doesn't matter. In fact, that's really good. In a boom time, you should be paying off your mortgage, right? In a recession time, you should be stimulating the economy. I say should, and you say, well, should, I shouldn't have to do anything, you tell me. But one of the things for all of us is if I stand here with you, and we take the euro out of the bank and we put the euro into a new pair of shoes, collectively, we can pull the economy out of recession. Because if you took the 6 billion and you put half of it into the economy, spent half of it, then you have 3 billion, of new aggregate demand for the companies. And that puts the economy in an upward spiral. And that's very important. There's another thing. In anticipation of saving ourselves, in anticipation of next year's economy, we're saving. But this is good unless inflation is greater than the interest. Right now, inflation rate, or the rate at which your money devalues, is 2.9%. Is anybody getting more than 2.9% on their bank account? Quick, I need to see a hand. Anybody getting 2.9%? So that means if you put your money in the bank, what are you getting? What? My kids got 1.65% today. The difference between 2.9 on my kids' bank account is the money that they lose every year in their bank because their money is devalued. So now, guys, savings. Let's talk about savings, because I need to persuade you to go and spend some money. On shoes. Shoes. Okay. You go shoes. You can spend it on DVD player, you can spend it on
Alcohol.
alcohol. alcohol. Good. What are you going to spend on? Whiskey. Good. And you? You take me out for another drink at the evening. Good. Right?
I'm going to buy a house
You can buy a house.
tomorrow.
Well, that's an effect of your speech now.
But this, my friends, is the story. We, as a group of individuals, can turn this economy into an upward spiral. If we add it to what will happen to the businesses, because the businesses will start to grow, then together the sum is greater than the number of parts. And we will beat the recession. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kathy, for giving me a very altruistic reason to buy myself a pair of shoes. It's for helping the economy.